Good morning, Lakeview. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We're hanging out here in West Kelowna in the Marjock and Rose Valley area with the church just over our shoulder. You can sort of see that area. You might not be able to see the church, but it's amazing how we live just a stone's throw from just some amazing places, and I think that's just so enjoyable just to be so close that okay, let's go up the hill and there's forest and there's whatever. It's just awesome. We also thought today that we would match. So I've got my not official Ironman, but now we're same age. Cheers. Yeah. So now we're together. We're on a team. Mm-hmm. So we invite you to just hang out with us today and enjoy some coffee, and as we do a little bit of reflection. One of the things that I was reflecting on today and this week is it's halfway through the summer. I kind of said it on Sunday, it's beginning of August. We're recording this around August 1st-ish, and halfway through the summer. But then it dawned on me, it's halfway through the year.
Yeah.
It's over halfway through the year. So it's funny how things are going really quickly. And what I thought I would want to reflect on is just a little bit how has all these things, passed us by or something like that. But more importantly, how has God been working in your life in the last half of the year? Because it's really easy for us to look back and see negatives, but even just to look back and be able to testify and say, wow, God is working in so many ways in my life, and I'm seeing Him do just awesome things. Mm-hmm. Is there things for you?
Oh man, there's a lot. So I'll just start broad, and my boys are both working over the summer, and it's just really cool to see them kind of more engaging here. They really struggled to move from Chilliwack, and you would still ask them, they'd still be like, oh yeah, Chilliwack's home, that's where we want to be. But they both have jobs here. They're engaging a little bit. So I see them growing. I see some relationships. The relationship changes as they grow older, so I'm learning how to navigate that a little bit better with them. So that's kind of broad. My family, I see God working in that relationship and in our lives. For me specifically, as we've been studying Mark through this whole year, it's been amazing, just this journey with Jesus and just realizing more and more who He is and therefore who God is. Someone who has such compassion and grace and forgiveness, recognizing that those are the real blessings that we seek. We think we want, a toy that will make us happy for a while, or a movie or whatever it is. We think we want that, but what we really want is a deepening relationship. And so the story that stands out to me again and again in Jesus that is just really got me pondering is when Jesus is treading on the waves of the sea, that story where He walks out and the disciples are scared. They think He's a ghost and they cry out or whatever. And instead of passing them by as He meant to do, because He wanted to show them His glory, it's kind of a metaphor for showing His glory, He stepped in because they weren't ready. And it just made me, ever since then I've been like, how am I missing His glory that He wants to reveal? And what does it look like to be more ready? And so that's been part of my prayer, part of my seeking, and part of my desire for us as a church is how are we preparing ourselves to see His glory? It's not because it's about us earning it or but it's being ready, having open ears and open eyes, and that is God's work, and yet it's our work and how we partner. So I guess I'm starting to preach, and I'll let go. But that's kind of some of the stuff that I thought. So how about for you? Or yeah,
I feel like God especially is working in my family. It's dawning on me that that I have a son going to high school.
Yeah.
So that feels like a new thing. You know, somebody that I just feel like not that long ago was just a little baby toddler, kindergartner, right?
Yep.
And now high school, and we keep moving forward, right? And so I feel like God is showing me just there is a maturity process that happens, and that's really starting to come out, you know, in the way that He works in us. And so, you know, it continually says that God has a hope and a future, you know, laid out for us, for every one of us. You know, as much as maybe people might want to, you know, write me off, you know, whatever. Hopefully he'll grow up someday. You know, that there is things that God is working on all of us in all of that as well too. And yeah, I think just the way that God is especially speaking to me through my family, in very, very subtle ways all across the board as well too. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Going back to even what you were saying, how Jesus has you know, means to kind of walk past the boat, and yet He looks at them and has compassion on them, and chooses to, you know, connect with them and give them what they need, and that they recognize it, like you said. You know, how does that relate even to what we were talking about on Sunday as well too? Because like we've talked about, you know, family, we've talked about, you know, the place that we live, we talked about all these things. How does that relate to what we were talking about on Sunday?
Yeah. So we started our new series, Blessed to be a Blessing.
Yeah.
And really the reason we are starting that, shared a little bit on Sunday, but as we've been working through Mark, we've noticed that the Israelite people that God chose, and we're going to talk about this on Sunday, that beginning of that, but He chose them to bless, and they've taken that blessing and they've tried to hold on to it, and they've tried to protect it, and they've tried to kind of keep it as their own. And it was never intended that way. It was God chose to bless you, make your name great, so that all the nations would be blessed, right? So when they hear your name, they hear of me, and they hear the blessings. On Sunday, we talked about setting the foundation for blessing. The foundation for that blessing is not all of the things that God bestows on us. Yes, that's included, but the foundation is Him. Like He is the blessing, right? And unless we're in relationship with Him, all those other things, they kind of pass us by, or we don't recognize. I mean, it made me think about, have you ever gone without food for quite a while, or been really sick and in pain? So like if you're going without food, you feel the hunger pangs, and all you want is like an apple, or, you know, like just this simple thing. And then when you finally get it, it's so good, right? And it's so wonderful. And yet, if we don't go without and we have all this stuff, it's just an apple. It's just an apple. You know, you throw half of it away, right? Like, or at least I try not to. But we see people doing that, and sometimes we do. And so I feel like the blessing, like we're so abundantly blessed that we don't even recognize unless we're really, really in tune with the giver of those, right? And so that's really what I didn't want people to come away thinking, oh, if I put my faith in Jesus, then I'm going to get everything I want. That's not what the blessing is about. The blessing is about, yes, you actually do get everything you want, but everything that's deep in your heart, and that's Him. And then He will give us what we need, which sometimes is suffering, which sometimes is struggle, because in that process is when we get to know more of Him. The disciples were on the lake in the storm when He was about to, He's about to reveal Himself through a lot of that stuff. So that's a long-winded answer again. Kevin, I'm becoming more of a preacher. That I never used to talk so much.
Maybe it's as soon as we turn the camera on, Jeff just... No, I was reflecting on something similar last night in Romans 8, where it's God works all things for the good of those who love Him, or who are called according to His purpose. man, that's one of the most out of context verses ever, right? And the whole context is that God has a deeper, larger plan for us, and that includes blessing others, and that includes, who Christ is. And in the middle of that, it talks about how this, we don't even know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
The Spirit actually intercedes for us, because if we really were given what we want, like if we were given that whole plate of or whole feast before us, we would just eat whatever, not even realizing, actually half of that's junk food, and we think that's what we want, and actually in a lot of ways we really don't know what we want. And so in some ways God just is able to say, you might not know it, but actually this apple will give you immense, much better pleasure. It's a much better thing. So even to know that, like, if all we had was Christ, we would actually be fully blessed, because he is the blessing, right? And I think that's something for us to keep remembering as we look around and say, wow, I love where we live, I love our family, I love all these things that we do and participate in, and all of these things, but that God has purpose and plan for it to be Christ is our blessing, so that we can bless others. Down and out, right?
Yeah, and he wants, and that blessing to others is being Christ to them, presenting Christ to them, giving them opportunity to know him. Yeah, all that stuff.
Do you know who actually knew about that? Joseph.
Oh,
Joseph.
Yeah. I see
Joseph
where you're
understood
going.
it. Joseph got it. And so I think we should maybe, in a week and a half from right now, we should maybe reflect on Joseph. How about that? So that's actually what we're going to do. So Drama Camp is coming, and we're going to tell a really awesome version of the Joseph story, how God blessed him so he could be a blessing to others, and how just how God is working in him and through him and for him and in spite of him and all of those things. And so Drama Camp is coming up. It's starting right after church on this Sunday. We're getting a whole bunch of stuff ready. So if there's anybody that can hang out and just help out a little bit, that would be helpful to get some stuff set up. We would love a few extra hands there to be pulling some stuff into the sanctuary, because first thing Monday morning at 9 a.m. Camp starts. And so there's a whole plan and a whole schedule that's all come together. But if we could have some hands to put some of that stuff together, even on Sunday after church, we're going to collect the chairs and stuff like that as well too. And so as much as you can help, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing that's going to happen this coming Sunday in the service, we're also doing communion. So you can have your elements ready as you're able. And if you're with us in the service, then that'll be provided for you. But just know that's coming, and that we can all be participating around the table in the goodness of God in this new covenant that he's given to us. So so that's us kind of hanging out. That's us preaching at you, but in a good way. Hopefully you're reflecting on some of these things as well too. Hopefully you're able to, even like we've said, talk about this with other people. Don't just put it in your head and then walk away. Realize that this is something that needs to be chewed on and worked on and processed, just like all of life and just like all of Scripture. So we invite you to that, and hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you Sunday.